What's happening in the canine industry? For all the latest news, views, and expert opinions, stay right here for the Canine Paradigm. You'll hear from industry leaders, experts, doyens of the industry, learned colleagues, movers and shakers, and the odd randy guest. Get the latest insights and expert advice from both here and abroad from the people in the know. Now, here are your hosts, Glenn Cook and Pat Stewart. And I'm Lofty Fulton, and I'm out of here.
Glenda?
Yes.
We have to do a new ad.
We do.
It's a solemn time.
Mm-hmm.
Our long-time sponsor of the show, George Kittredge,
Yes.
very, very sadly passed away. And we formerly used to advertise for him his Rowdy Hound boxes.
We did.
So we don't actually know what's happened with Rowdy Hound boxes. You know anything about that?
I looked at the website. It said that they're recalibrating since their founder and boss has passed. But nonetheless, I think that you and I want to honour the memory of George Kittredge anyway. He was a friend to both of us, a hell of a good guy, and he supported us almost immediately. He was on board through and through, and I just don't want any of us to forget George. He was a terrific human being.
So we intend to continue to advertise Rowdy Hound, even though we don't know what's going on with them.
Yep.
In the hopes that they keep going, and that can be a bit of George's legacy that we're able to continue to promote.
I hope so.
In checking it out, we had a look to see, because we're not real good with the sponsorship. So we had a look to see who's actually paying for sponsorship. And we have a list of people to tell you that we support. And the first is our sugar mama, Barbara de Groot.
She's been with us from the start as well. Barbara's been an absolute staple in our...
She's a gem.
She is a gem.
She has a business.
She does. From the Heart Dog Training.
From the Heart Dog Training.
Yeah.
You can check it out. But she supports us as much and more than anybody ever has. So we appreciate you very much, Barbara. Another person who's supported us from the start.
The Einzelwiener.
Einzelwiener.
The Bullfed.
The Bullfed.
Yep.
It's where I get all my stuff.
Yeah.
It is, truly. It's where I get all my dog gear. If I need something, Jason's my first point of call. I don't use his shit website. He has a website. It's dog shit. I just message him directly. You guys probably should use his shit website, but I don't.
Yeah, because you don't want to message him directly and get his grumpy ire of the day.
Yeah, but do it. Get all your dog stuff from Jason. He's got everything you need. He's got all the shit that you need to train a dog for realty.
Everybody who comes to seminars and looks at meals and asks me meals questions, ask Jason.
Yeah.
Jason can point you in the right direction for getting the meal that's best suited for you.
I really like his leashes. I'm a big fan of his leash pack. That's why I sort of convinced him to do it. But anyway, get your stuff from Einzelwiener.
Yep.
Do you know who has a fantastic website and ships internationally?
My wife?
Your wife,
Yeah.
Canine Pharmaceuticals.
I couldn't imagine her not having a good website, how much of a perfectionist she is.
Well, the products are amazing. My dog merely being alive is a walking testimonial to that. My dog, who I've retired numerous times and has come out of retirement when I've managed to get his body back to healthy. And a big part of that is related to Canine Pharmaceuticals. So check it out, everybody.
I could say so many nice and biased things about Canine Pharmaceuticals and my wife, but what I will say is ignore me. Just look at testimonials. The testimonials speak for themselves. That's where the field trials are working. What makes Narelle's day, and mine as well, is when people are emailing in and sending messages of, well, primarily people have had no hope in the past because just everything that they were trying wasn't working, and now it is. And that is the testament that something is actually really working. And the other thing which I will add, one of the things that Narelle's told me in the past is dogs are incapable of understanding the placebo effect.
Oh, that's a good point.
So you can fake it on a human, but you can't fake it on a dog.
I never thought about that before. That's actually a really good point.
Well, my wife's actually a very smart person.
There you go.
So she's told me that humans are subject to the placebo effect where dogs are not. So it either works or it doesn't on dogs.
There you go. That makes total sense.
Yep.
There's one other person who puts a fair amount of work into this show.
Yeah.
It's me.
Yeah. Funny about that.
And I have a digital product that you can buy. If you go to my website, seriousdogbusiness.com, right now I've got 2 courses available to you. The Overview, which is a small course where you could learn how I teach.
Yep.
But the other one is the Wave Tops, which is a bigger course. It's everything I know about dog training. Well, it's not everything. It's a lot of what I know about dog training.
Yeah,
Check it
terrific.
out.
Yeah.
$500 dues. That's all it's going to cost you.
I recommend it when people are saying, what do I do? How do I get in the industry? I recommend them to your course.
Oh, wonderful. Thanks,
Yeah.
sir. All right, on with the show. Welcome back to the Canine Paradigm. I'm your host, Pat Stewart, and I'm joined today by my co-host, Glenn Cook.
Hello, my friend. Hello, friends.
Hello.
Hello.
What's the news at your end, Glenda? I hear something exciting is going to happen in the Australian dog community.
In February, yeah, we've got Dr Melanie Uhde joining us live in Sydney in the last couple of weekends of February, and she's also coming to Melbourne, which is absolutely fantastic. So she'll be doing it at Dural. So it'll be February 21 and 22 in Sydney, and February 28 and the 1st of March in Melbourne at ProDog at David McKelson's and Edie's.
What's the topic? What's going on?
Well, it's mainly going to be canine behavior and psychology, which is her focal point, and myth dispelling and so forth. I'm super excited that we've got somebody who's now considered a world-class speaker in that field, somebody who's not only backing up many of the things that you and I and our colleagues online and in life and people that we've met and people that we're affiliated with have been talking about. Melanie's gone off and done the hard work. She's researching it properly, dedicating most of her free time and most of her professional time in actually reading these papers, reading the things that other people will sort of look over and have a light understanding of it. Melanie has a deep understanding of it, a very, very functional understanding of it. And they're the things that she's going to share with us, like a lot of the facts around what's actually going on in a dog's brain and how that affects us as trainers as well, and how we can have a better relationship with our dog by actually understanding the neurological side of the dog.
Yeah. I'm excited for her. I'm enthralled by her currently. We should get her back on the show prior to it.
Definitely.
But I mean, her content is excellent, but the fucking crazies that go after her is wild. It kind of blows my mind. I read the comments now and again, and some of the stuff is just madness.
Mate, I saw you post something the other day, and I was reading the comments on posts that you've put up, and I saw you've got your own crazies coming after you, where like it just doesn't matter what you say to them. It doesn't matter what evidence you lay out before them. It won't matter how happy you show them the dog can be and how fulfilled the dog can be. They have their own solution to this. Yeah. They've got a fixated mindset. That's all they believe. You're not going to change their mind. The times that I have seen people change their mind, as I probably regurgitated on many an episode, the times where I have seen people before me that have changed their mind is when they're faced with a problem. A good example to use of that is when their dogs are declared as a dangerous dog or something like that. There have been people that have come to me before and said, just on the down low. And I said, this isn't on the down low. This is public knowledge now. Like, you're written up, you're known. And, oh yeah, I know, but I need to do something about it. And I said, what do you want me to do? And I don't want to do this and I don't want to do this. And I said, but you have to. You're out of options. It's not going to go well for you. You're with your XL type dog that's gone off and fucked up something or somebody in society because you've been super opposed to anything else. You've allowed the dog to have all these enormous liberties with the most ridiculous training concepts. And now you're coming back to us and saying, I want your help, but please, on the down low, I don't want people to know. Yeah. That's insidious. Like, that sort of stuff is just horrendous, because what you're saying is everything failed me. I've been in trouble before. And the questions that I've actually asked people is, how much trouble have you been in before? How many times has this actually happened before it actually got caught? And now you have to do something about it, whereas before you've been able to put it under the rug. How many other people were you able to buy their silence before you came to me? Because you can't do that. I'm not going to fold and, even though I am your agent and I'm not going to throw you to the wolves or anything like that, it's just that I don't operate like that. I don't skulk under the floorboards like other people will do, or just get silence for cash. This is something that you've got to decide, I'm all in or I'm not doing it with you. That's how it's got to be.
I won't do any secret training anymore. I've done that. I've done heaps of it. In the past, I've had plenty of people who are names, right? Like, have a following and sell their information as force-free trainers. I've had them contact me for help with using an e-collar, with using a prong collar, because they've encountered a dog, whether it's their own or someone else's, and they've realized that this is my bullshit isn't going to work here. I've talked them through it. And I did that because for a long time there, you and I both were trying to bridge the gap and like, when someone who has a following, I don't want to say their names, but like people we've had on the fucking show, for God's sake, like when someone who has a following contacts me and says, I need to use aversives. Can you talk me through how to use this in this situation? And I have in the past always been like, fuck yes, I can. Absolutely. That's my bread and butter. I can absolutely teach you how to do that. Because in my head, I'm like, well, I want to help the dog and that's the right thing to do. But also I was like, cool, we're moving the needle. You're coming and seeking out that advice. And then you see them calling for tool bands. Or they're people who are training with an electric collar, seen and known by the people that they train with, and then they're doing a Facebook conversation and being the person representing the no tools section of the of the conversation.
Yeah.
And you're like, but that's not who you are. And so I really strictly don't do it anymore. I'll help anyone who wants to know. And for sure, so many people now, and it's been really interesting. It's a lot of the people coming into my course, which is really good. I'm really happy with it, are people who are changing over from force-free training. And a lot of them are either on their second or third dog in many cases because they've just created an absolutely reactive mess of their first dog and the system doesn't work. And so they're either trying to fix that dog or they're, for whatever it is they're trying to achieve, they've got a different dog and going down a different route. And so I'm stoked with that. I love that. I'm very comfortable holding someone's hand through understanding or unwinding their indoctrination. That's been really interesting to me, is watching people having to confront their biases. So people will have, prong collar is the devil's tool. It's the worst thing in the world. Nobody should ever use it, right? And they're holding that in their mind. And then I say to them, okay, look, you're going to have to use a prong collar. This is how we're going to fix this issue. And they don't want to, but they know, okay, they trust me, which is cool, right? That they trust me that much to go through it. You can see a part of them scratching on the inside of their brain, sort of no, that's wrong, don't do it, even though they're actually seeing the dog change in front of them and the dog is no longer displaying the problem behaviors and the dog is still, or even usually improved, right? The attitude of the dog is better. And you can see people having to sort of unwind that indoctrination. I love doing that. I think it's great and it really helps the dog. So it's not that I won't work with people who want to learn balanced techniques, but it's the people who will deny it later. Then I'm like, hey, what's the point here? And I think that that's a level of cowardice and a level of misanthropy, I think maybe is the right word. I'm not sure. But you're destroying the industry by saying these are things that we should never do, but you're secretly doing them. That's as bad as it gets, right? Who could reconcile that in themselves? But we see it constantly over and over.
Well, I think that answers your question before when you were, or even matches your point when you were talking before about Melanie's amount of crazy that are coming after her. And further to this, prior to switching the mics on for realsies, you and I were talking about this diminishing need for the truth, or how people don't really cherish the truth as much as you think it's important. It's been quite a realization for me, really, and something that I've been struggling with a while ago, because there have been times where I've been honest and truthful with people and it's not appreciated, because people will say, I like honesty, I like integrity, I like people to be real with me, until they are. And then they're like, oh no, what's going on there? This is too much realness and too much honesty and too much integrity. I didn't want that. I wanted some fluff and some fabrication in here. That confuses me. That's something that my brain doesn't comprehend well, because I'm kind of thinking, well, you're asking me a truthful question. And people like Melanie and you and quite a few of our colleagues that we know, when people ask us honest questions, we give honest answers. And you're surprised to find that people hate you for it. People want to fucking harm you for it. They want to bring you down for it, because they're saying, how dare you talk honestly or talk with integrity about this subject matter when that is blowing a hole in my belief system? How dare you do that? That's the side where I think it's confusing when you're looking at somebody who's very well researched, somebody who goes out there and reads white papers and reads literature and reads studies and then gets online and says, all right, well, here's everything compiled. This is not my angle on this. This is just what it says. Here is the cherry-picked versions. So here is the slight part, like how media has done this to people all over their life. If they've cut up sections of their speeches and joined it all into being one sort of speech, and then people go, hey, hang on, that's not the speech that I actually saw online that somebody posted. That happens in real life with studies as well. People just go, oh, this is a version of this study that sits well with my narrative, and we're going to base our whole argument on this tiny little piece here, this tiny little bit of rhetoric right here. We're just going to base everything on that. And then someone like Melanie comes along and goes, actually, that was just a tiny piece of the study. And it goes on further to explain that more. So when you actually look at the lengthy conversation and what it talks about, it actually cancels that out during the whole conversation. You know, that's not the side of science that you should be looking at. And you're very much like that, Pat. Even in the early days, you used to frustrate the shit out of me, to be honest, because you used to blow holes in my covers as well. Because, you know, I'd go off believing something and you'd go, actually, have you read the whole thing or have you seen the entire clip of that? Sometimes I like to bullshit my way through it and go, yeah. And you go, well, here is the whole story of that. And I'm thinking, yeah, well, I just got fucking outed live on air because you have read the study and I didn't read the whole thing. Or you did watch the video or the presentation and I didn't watch the whole thing. And being honest, and not that you did that to pie me in the face or anything like that. What you did is just said, this is the truth. This is actually the whole truth and nothing but the truth. This is the entire study. This is exactly what the person said that has been quoted. But what they've done is everybody paraphrases 10 seconds of the conversation when the entire conversation is an hour long. Or when Melanie picks up something and says, somebody's quoting one page of a 500-page document. I think that's the disappointing thing inside of it. And forevermore, people have gone off on this tangent of believing that a myriad of people and people that they think are credible, people who they think are on their side, people who they look up to, people who they've learned from. You and I talked about times ago where your old mentors would say things to you and you just hold them to it. You just say, oh my God, the person that's so beloved to me has shared this information with me. I'll forevermore quote this and tell everybody and pass on that teaching until finally somebody gets down the line and go, that's not what they fucking said. That's not the truth. That's just a fucking bullshit version of what they said. Like, that's not even right. It's gone so fucking deep into the boonies that we don't even know how we got here anymore. Like, it's such a poor grapevine version of the scientific fact or the quoted real conversation of a creditable person who actually made the time to research this to the nth degree, then bring it to public knowledge. And, by the way, had it peer reviewed and had a lot of people look at it and said, how can I refute or dispute that? Because it's fact, it's solid. And that is like, we should be embracing people like Melanie. We are, you and I are, and there's many others are. Like, I think there's a lot of people who are waking up to her. That's why I'm saying she's on a world stage now where people are going, holy shit, like, this person's a real player in this field. She's experimenting and training her own dogs in bite work sports and so forth like that. Like, she's doing a lot of things and showing her work online and doing all those things as she's learning about it as well. She's not getting on there and saying, I'm the best dog trainer in the world. Nothing of the sort. She's saying, hey, I'm traveling, I'm learning from people, I'm having a great time doing this. But I do know a shit lot about researching scientific literature and bringing it to light. And I think when we have the good fortune and the luck of having people like that in our field, they should be protected and they should be embraced because they're educating us. They're actually fixing the narrative. They're fixing the holes. To use a crude analogy, it's like traveling down a road that's just full of fucking potholes and it's dangerous. You're at risk of coming off it at some stage. But when you're with somebody like that, they're going, hey, let's just fix this whole road. Let's do it properly. Let's spend a bit of time, rip it all down and rebuild it from the ground up. So anybody who drives this road now is going to drive it safely and smoothly all the way to the end. Like, we can do this. We have the capability to do this, but there's going to be some pain points that we're going to have to address, and there's going to have to be some digging out of things, and it's going to be uncomfortable and it's going to suck a little bit. There's a lot of egos that are going to hurt about this. There's a lot of people who maybe they're going to have to be afforded a little bit of a kindness or an amnesty while we recover from this a little bit, but it is what it is, folks, and this is the real stuff. So let's just talk about the real stuff. Mate, I've been hammered for being honest with people before, like people within the dog training community. I've thought I've done them a solid. I thought I've done something friendly and caring for them, like helped them or gave them some honest feedback. And I thought they'll appreciate that. You know, like I would have appreciated that if somebody did that for me. But there's been cases where people haven't. Like, they're just looking at you going, you fucking dog piece of shit.
Yeah.
And you could knock me down with a feather when you do that, because they have built their character on that narrative. Even though it wasn't a gotcha moment and you weren't exposing them to people, they're just like, oh no, you're calling me out on my fucking shtick. And I don't like you now because my mask fell off in front of you and you can see me behind the mask.
Yeah.
Mate, I fucking struggled with that for a long time. You know, people I really looked up to in the industry, people that I've thought I had great relationships with, all of a sudden it's just like done. And I'm thinking, nope, that wasn't expected. That wasn't the intention. That wasn't my intention. But sometimes some honesty, and you've got to be careful with it. You just have to be mindful with your honesty because the world changed. Things changed. People changed. It was going to be part of our talk anyway, but people changed after COVID. Things got things got different. Things got skewed and things got weird.
Before we move to that, one thing I do want to say about Melanie, to blow a little bit more smoke up her ass, and not like in forms of promotion, but I think worldwide, we as real dog trainers, we need to support and somewhat, I don't want to say protect, it's not like she needs our protection, but I think rally behind and support her, because what I think happens in the dog training space, and certainly, you know, I'll use myself as an example, is like the reality is I'm a meathead, right? Like I literally, for the first half of my adult life, carried a gun around the world, and the second half held a leash, right? So like I actually don't have any qualifications. I have no formal education, right? I went to high school and that's it. Now, mind you, like I've done some pretty impressive shit in the army and I've traveled and learned from some of the best people in dogs, but I have no pieces of paper that say anything about that, right? There's no letters after my name. And I think I have been formally educated in how to read a scientific study. It's not that hard to do. Most people, if you can read, you can manage to slug your way through it. And if you're reasonably intelligent, you can figure out what's going on in there. But I also think that for most of us as dog trainers, we don't really need to do that, right? I think that the bro science level that we work at is for the most part adequate. I think that it is. I think that for the average dog trainer, we don't need to have the exact study in our head.
Can I just insert there? Let me just insert there because I'm agreeing with you, but I'm saying as long as we check in and just make sure that someone like Melanie is saying, are we right?
No, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I mean.
Okay,
that's exactly what I mean. For us, for the average person who is just like actually putting their hands on dogs every day, going into people's homes or working in a kennel, whatever they do, when you're on the tools every day, you don't have the time, or really it's not going to give you, when you do the cost benefit analysis, it doesn't stack up to be spending heaps of time reading studies and filtering through data and trying to understand things at that level. What we need is a mechanism like Melanie, who then goes, no, I've been through it all with a fine fucking tooth comb. And this is what's tangible. Like this is what we actually need to know. And these are the outcomes that come from it. And then for us as the doers of the thing, then we're gold. When we know, okay, sweet. Like I can carry that in my mind. I understand that absolutely enough to do it. And I understand it enough to explain to a client or a person who's asking me, why are we doing it this way? I'm not just saying, well, because the monkey in the cage before me did it that way, so I'm just replicating what I saw from that monkey, right? It's like, no, I've been educated on this. This is how it works. There is science to back this up. I can't quote it to you directly right here now, but if you want me to, I can point you towards it later. Like that's all we need to be able to do when we're actually in people's homes on the tools, right? Now, for you and I, maybe we need a somewhat higher level because we are educators of dog trainers, right? So we need, again, to be able to give them maybe another notch higher of information, a little bit more fidelity on the things that we say, a little bit more being able to back it up. But again, being able to quote however many studies that you need to be able to carry around in your head, having, doing your own meta-analysis of 150 studies on punishment is not necessary for you to be a dog trainer or an educator of dog trainers. What you've got to be able to do is understand what works, what doesn't, and do that within the ethics of your own self, right? Like you have to be happy in your own heart every day when you hang up your leash and know the things I did with that dog today sit totally fine with me. And the attitude of the dog is improved. Like the dog only got better working with me when we look at the big picture, right? Because we know that there are moments where the dog's situation is not improved by being around me, right? Because I'm prepared to use aversive training techniques. I'm absolutely prepared to say to a dog, hey, don't do that. And if you do that, there will be an aversive consequence, because that's how dogs understand. That's how dogs learn. They understand it. They learn to avoid it. That problem is over. Their life is improved, right? So when I say that the experience of the dog, that I don't want the dog having a shitty time, I mean holistically, not for every second of every training session. But that's all we need to do. We don't need to be having those battles and spending that time. Because if you looked at, like, you know, I'm sure we could ask her if we get on the show, like the amount of time that she spends reading and making that content and getting that information to distill it and give it to us, only to have dummies in her fucking comments saying that she's unqualified. Right? Like, it's wild to see that. So she's so important to us. And it's why we need to be in support of her. And like Facebook and the whole world's been an interesting thing. So I want to have a little rant about that.
Go ahead.
And then we
do
can
it.
get to what we're actually
Let's do it.
There's a couple of things that I want to sort of full load. Is that I enjoy listening to Andrew Huberman. I think that he fulfills a similar role to Melanie Uhde in a different total way of like, hey, here's the science. Because, you know, Huberman is an ophthalmologist or professor of ophthalmology. He's not a bodybuilder, but he's a bodybuilder in his own time and therefore researches that stuff in the same way that Melanie has gotten into dogs and is now like, well, I have this skill set. My degree is in this space. Let me facilitate all of this to you. So I love listening to Huberman. And years ago, he did a podcast. It was incredible. And it was about dealing with online hate and bullies and blah, blah, blah. And really what he said, and he went through all the data on it, he basically said that the correct thing to do when people leave stupid comments on your shit is nothing. And that I took on board. And so for a long time, when you get weird comments, because this is the issue, and we're going to talk about short form content in a moment, but for me as a dog trainer who sells an online course and therefore makes content in order to promote it, I am not really in control who will see that stuff. I make it, I post it, and then it's really up to an algorithm where that goes. And I think that for the most part, the algorithms tend to separate the training camps. I think that, you know, it tends to show you what you want to see. And so every now and again, stuff of mine would come up in the feed of a person who really vehemently disagrees with what I have to say, and they vocalize that to me. And in the past, I've had plenty of online arguments with people, right? Like if you go back far enough, and you'd be going back a long way, I'm talking at least sort of to 2017, before you'll see me have a real argument with people, because I just stopped doing it. I was like, what's the fucking point of this? This is not good for you. It's not good for me. And then when I saw that human data, it actually doesn't, like, you're reinforcing the person when you argue with them. And we all know with all the cognitive biases, people are not likely to change their mind because you gave them new information. Like they don't, usually it hardens their erroneous position.
And the real possibility that they're bots.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially these days, right?
Well, it's sometimes it's psyops. Like when you hear other podcasters talking, and I'll happily re-quote it, but I do listen a lot to people like Diary of a CEO, Huberman. I've been listening a little bit to Alan Alda's one as well. He's got some interesting guests on from time to time, and Joe Rogan.
Right.
And there's some really interesting people that come on those shows, and they talk readily and freely. And so does, you know, Rogan refers to it quite readily about all the psyops that have been used in different countries against governments to make people think the people within your country hate you and you need to.
For sure, that is a huge thing. To what degree do you guess that is in our space? Like how many dog training commenting bots do you reckon there are? Do you reckon anyone's employing that? Because I think there is. I don't think the number is zero, but I think it's fairly low, and I think it's key people doing it. And so I feel reasonably confident that the people who comment on my posts are for the most part real people. I have had a look, and I can talk about this as part of what I'm talking about, but I've been reshared by people, and people have just gone fucking insane about me on there. And I think some of them are bots because they're in support of the person. And so like that's very easy. You can buy that. If you're not in that space, like you probably don't know it, but like I get emails pretty regularly, probably once a week. And I'd say at least a couple of times a week, I will get a DM on Instagram from a company basically offering me that service.
Yeah, especially in our Canine Paradigm channel, we get offers all the time for people to, increase your SEO, increase your followers. And
but not just the followers, like the actual bot, like we can create a bot army that is in support of you, right? So like within an hour of posting something, it's got a minimum of 200 likes and 50 comments because they've got a bot farm of dog trainer lookalike things. But I don't think yet in our space those bots are going hunting. I think that they're just in support of whoever has bought them. You know what I mean? Like,
because
the bots that go hunting, they're looking to cause mischief and sow dissent. And I'm not sure that that's hit our space yet. It totally could have, and I'm unaware of it, but I don't think it's hit us. But anyway, to my point, I've just in the past just ignored stuff because that's what Huberman says to do. He says they don't get their dopamine hit. It's the greatest punishment you can give them. Just ignore it. And what happens when you do that, especially on Facebook, the way the algorithm kind of reads that is if you comment something and it's sort of outside of your usual comment sphere, right? It doesn't fit your usual network of things that you comment on. It doesn't really have a big impact on the algorithm. You do it, and if it gets no feedback, as in no one likes the comment and no one comments on it, it doesn't really go any further. And so depending on what the person was looking to get from it, maybe they're just a post and ghost kind of person. They never come back and check. But I think a lot of the times people who are looking to start an argument, they're checking every 5 minutes, right? Like have that notification. Is it there? They're checking. And what you're looking to do in that moment is starve them of that dopamine. So you're like, no, I didn't do anything, and nor will I, and they'll go away eventually. And because it didn't get any traction, the algorithm doesn't show it to anyone. What's happened to me recently was, and I think we spoke about in the podcast, like I don't want to act like I'm upset by this. I'm not, but it was just really interesting to me was some dude downloaded a video of me talking about how to pair an e-collar to a prong collar, right? And like what was actually happening in the clip was I was explaining to someone how to pair the two signals so that you can phase out one over the other. Pretty normal dog training stuff, right? Like how to go from leashed corrections to unleashed corrections and having the dog understand that, making that association so that the dog knows, oh, I know this well. I've learned it when it was a mechanical tool. Now it's an electric tool. Anyway, it's just me explaining that. So the guy downloaded it rather than share it directly. He blurred out my face and name and then posted it with pretty horrendous comments about what a monster I am. And then by the time I saw it, it had 86 comments. And mate, they were wild. And like, I really want to stress, because I had a lot of people reaching out to me when I spoke about this saying like, oh, don't worry. Like, I'm not worried. I appreciate the support from everybody, but it definitely didn't upset me. But it was super interesting to me, right? Like it was really interesting. I think some of them were bots. I'd say that guy, the way that his engagement and his following, it doesn't align. So I'd say almost certainly he's up to some mischief in that regard. Or maybe he's just got a very engaged small following. I don't know. But some of the shit that people were saying, I was like, wow, like you would not say that to a person. And I tried to be in their position, right? And the only reason I read all this was because my son was asleep on me. I was kind of stuck under him and I had my phone in my hand. And I was like, all right, well, I'm stuck here. I may as well invest time into something I would never invest time into otherwise. And I read a lot of the comments and I read all the comments and I looked at a lot of the profiles, and they were just people who had no idea about dogs. Some of the shit that they were saying about me was heinous. And so I just kind of decided in my head that day, I was like, you know what? I'm never going to go to someone else's page and have an argument with them. Like, I'm not doing that. That's not a thing I do. But if people want to come to me, and I'm not just going to let people say those kinds of things about me to me. You want to say them elsewhere? Fucking go for it. But if you're going to say it to me, I want to know why. So all I've been doing is asking them questions, right? Now, as I was saying, in the past, when people have commented and I don't do anything about it, it dies, right? But because I've been commenting back and now loads of other people are getting on it, and the person's comments are not only being replied to, but they're being like reacted to, now the algorithm spreads what is my stuff to their network. Because like when you're scrolling and you see a piece of content that's got like almost no relevance to you, but then it shows you the one comment and it's from a person that you pretty regularly engage with on Facebook, right? Like that's how that algorithm works. It's showing you the cross of your network. So once I've engaged with these people, Then their friends start to see it because we're engaging. It comes up in their feed and they start to engage back. So unfortunately, because I've talked to some of them, I'm getting more and more of them, and I'm getting more engagement across more things and across like old posts and stuff. And the thing that pissed me off about when the dude downloaded my stuff was he didn't identify me. That would be interesting. I would appreciate a conversation with him about why he did that. Like, what was his thought process about doing that? Because one of the things that I've said to some people is like, hey, scroll around a little bit on my content. Like, you've got this idea that I'm this monster because in this clip, I'm talking about pairing an e-collar to a prong. Then the rhetoric is, you don't know shit. You got to learn about positive reinforcement and fucking blah, blah, blah. And I can say to people, scroll a couple of reels and get a feel for what's actually happening here, right? Because I know a lot about positive reinforcement. I use a lot of positive reinforcement. And I think one of the really interesting things is the rhetoric is often that balance trainers use aversive training techniques because they don't understand positive reinforcement. They're not good at it. And so I can say to people, hey, go for a little scroll, see what you see, right? Like, and that often doesn't mesh with their view of reality. But what I've been doing is just asking people, how did you come to have that? They all have tantrums. Occasionally, and I'm enjoying it, someone says, no, I'm from a balance training background and it was all yank and crank and blah, blah, blah. And then I can say to those people like, cool, like understood, because there are for sure people in the world who were a part of dog training in the days where there really wasn't a force-free community or a plus R community. And if your local dog training group were old school yank and crank, alpha roll the dog, then it's fair. It's totally fair that you think that's what balance training is. And when you then finally got a hold of Don't Shoot the Dog and you found that community and you went into that community for sure reinforces your idea, your erroneous idea that all balance trainers don't understand any positive reinforcement. And so it's been pretty interesting engaging with people and the very few that will engage with me civilly, because I'm just being as polite to them as possible because I do have a genuine interest, right? When people say heinous shit to me like that, it's really hard for me to imagine a world where I'm that, you know? When people do weird shit in my life or you see someone doing weird shit, I really sort of try, okay, my spiritual beliefs believe me to think that we're all part of the one, right? We're having an experience of being a self. You are me. How could I get to that point, right? Like, what would put me in a position to comment such a thing on someone's page? And I ask them this shit. Like, I'm like, how'd you get to this point? Seldom will they answer. And that usually means that it's just straight because they don't have an answer. It's straight indoctrination, right? Like, I've been told by a person that I trust that you're a monster and therefore I'll go and do the bidding of that person. And I think that's where I'm sort of going with all of this. That's what it all has come down to, is that very often the people who are doing the commenting and frankly, often making fools of themselves, they're doing the bidding of someone that they think is going to like them for it, right? Like, they've got, I'm a big follower of the Force-Free Jackass page and, I comment on all his stuff and he calls this guy a monster. So I'm going to go out to that guy's page, say some dumb shit so that endears me. Like, look at me signal to my community, right? And often in your own community, people don't question you. So you say dumb things. Oh, balance training there's one, I should find it so I can say it exactly. But like, basically all balance training is abuse. And then you go like, okay, cool. But what about, are you saying that absolutely all forms of coercion or force or abuse? Like, are you talking stopping a dog running into traffic? Like, is that where you're at? They disappear. Right. And the one lady recently, even to that comment, was like, you're all a cult. I won't be engaging anymore. And it's like, because in your cult, you can say dumb shit and people like nod. And we've all done that. You've done that. I've done that. You're in a group of like an echo chamber and you say things that a normal person, if they heard it, would go, are you fucking stupid? Like, that is such a dumb thing to say. But you say it in your closed group of people and everyone nods and is like, yeah, that's our commonly held group belief, right? And then when you say that outside the group and someone looks at you and goes, what the fuck are you talking about? That's so far from reality. That's what's been happening. And I've been enjoying it. Like, I don't like fighting with people. And the part of it that I don't enjoy and what almost keeps me up at night is that I think a lot of those people are very unwell, right? Like, and I think that's the part of it that gives me the ick is that the people who have been sent by someone else to come and comment on my shit, they're cannon fodder, right? The person doesn't care about them. They're extorting them for money and tricking them into thinking that they know how to train dogs. But they're this expendable person who gets sent out. And like, I see that and go, oh, it doesn't give me any joy to belittle you or make you feel this bad, but point out your insufferable fucking stupidity to everybody. It doesn't give me any joy because chances are you're actually a very unwell person mentally, right? Like, because the kind of person that can be indoctrinated to go and fight someone else's battle when they're wrong is usually a very feeble, weak-minded person. And so it doesn't give me any joy to point that out to them and argue with that kind of person. So that's my only sort of hesitation in that. But it has been interesting having to ask people to confront their beliefs, right? And they usually do, and this is where we swing it back around to talking about Melanie, is that they want to quote all these studies. And I've read a lot of dog training studies. I've spent a lot of time with my face in the books. And when they quote some nonsense, I don't want to have to go, oh, okay, like in order to refute that, let me find the reference you're talking about. I'll do the work to point out it doesn't say what you think it says. I don't have to do that anymore. I can go to Melanie.
Yeah.
And she's done that work for me.
She's right? Like our dog industry AI.
100%. So anyway, that's why I think she's so important to us. I think that she's fantastic. And not only that she's doing a great job fighting our battles, but her information is fucking great.
She's walking the path. She's training her dog. She's showcasing her journey through it. She's talking about it openly. There's nothing that she hasn't opened up to the world. She's saying, this is not based on my opinion, what we're talking about. Here is my own dog training journey on my social media. You go for it. You're welcome to have a look at what I'm actually doing. The importance of people like Melanie, all the people out there like her. One of the things that I'm deeply impressed on is that if she's got questions about that, she's asking the right people. She's not excluding them from the conversation. She's not in saying, I'm just building this signature narrative that doesn't include anything that doesn't sound plausible or won't win me the right accolades with those people that we were talking about before. What she's saying is, I know I'm stepping into dangerous territory. People are going to feel wounded about this and people are going to feel some ire and some outrage, but still nonetheless, we need to talk about all of it. We can't talk about some of it. We need to talk about all of it. The entire holistic conversation needs to be opened up. The books need to be open. Everybody needs to be reading from this same book because right now, while we're cherry picking our way through things, we're actually destroying literature. The danger for us is that we're allowing intelligence to be destroyed along the way. And you can see that. You can see this insufferable lineage of people who are carrying the old mate narrative, like old Grandpa Joe's old story about the dog next door that his neighbor trained to retrieve World War II grenades or something like that, you know, and then he could pull the pin out with his teeth and lob them back at the opposing forces, whatever bullshit story that was. I'm just making that up as I go along. But point to that is anytime that I've been in the presence of that caliber of person, I always consider myself incredibly fortunate. And I'm thinking, now I'm getting a true education. I'm not getting slandered, information. I'm not getting funneled into somebody's narrative that's ultimately going to make me look like a dummy down the line. When I do come across an intelligent person, I say, Glenn, that's not right.
That's my biggest fear.
Yeah, absolutely. That's real imposter syndrome.
Yeah, exactly, mate. And this is what kind of blows my mind when you see, like, my favorite one recently was someone sent it to me. Someone commenting on Mia Skogster's Instagram that if she really wanted to learn dog training, she should be looking to Denise Fenzi, right? Because if you want to learn how to do a high-level precision obedience and that kind of stuff, for sure, Denise is a good trainer. I'm not shitting on Denise, but you're talking to a fucking literal world champion.
Yeah,
you are talking like, so can you imagine how embarrassing that would be for you to be the kind of person that sees someone online doing something and you're like, oh, I've been indoctrinated to think that shit, and telling that person you don't know what you're doing, you need to look at this other person, and then finding out later you were talking to the actual world, the person who has proven themselves to be the best in the world at the thing that you're talking about and telling them they don't know shit and need to look at someone else. How fucking funny is that?
Oh, mate, it's
that's
insufferable.
So wild to me. But
It's
that's my fear. That's my greatest fear in the world, that you're that person and don't realize it.
Yep.
Because that person didn't know that. They're just like, oh, look at this bitch, doesn't know what she's doing.
I've been guilty of it. I've been guilty of it, mate. I've done it. I openly, hand on heart, say I've done it before. Because, to circle back to the point that you raised before, when you're trying to endear yourself, and I've been around some incredibly insidious people before that have really evil agendas. Like their hearts are so black. I didn't know it at the time. I didn't realize that, because you think they care about you. You do, because you're lacking something. There's something missing in your life, like affection, or you're craving something, and these people are giving it to you, but it's a false narrative, and you just don't realize it. You think it's real, but it's not. You're being used as a decoy, as a dummy.
Yeah.
You just don't know it. But while they can maintain distance and maintain innocence, because all they do is they outrage you. They make you feel that somebody that you look up to, somebody that you worship, somebody that you think has godlike presence is under attack, and you need to defend them. You need to do something about it. So when push comes to shove and you know where it's come from, you'll go to the source and say, what's going on? They'll say, I don't know what you're talking about. I haven't done anything like that. Everybody around them will say, yeah, you're out of line, mate. They never did any of this. You're blaming the wrong person. This other person has just taken it upon themselves to feel something and come after you. And meanwhile, this evil prick is rubbing their hands in the background. That's happened far too many times. And mate, even recently, there's been people that I've had to take a step back from, because I thought, I actually like this person. I think we're friends, only to realize, oh, we're actually not. This person is following some nefarious doctrine that I wasn't aware of, but now it's surfaced and now I am aware of it and I can't maintain it anymore. There's times where I've sat with that and I've thought, oh, that really fucking hurts. I was under an illusion that we had a better relationship or we were friends, only to find out that's not actually true. So, mate, I know what that feels like. I'm sure you do too. I'm sure there's been times where you've been misled in a friendship or in a relationship where you get along the ways, you're going down the path of it and think, oh, this isn't what I thought it was. Like, I'm being used or I'm being fucking trampled on, and this person is a double agent and not in my interest. They're using material against me to better their standing with somebody who's like, this is a game for them. This is just an agenda, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, look, people like that exist, and it's sad. And I agree with you also when you're saying that there's a lot of mentally ill people that get put in those categories as well, because they have big feelings about things.
Yeah. I take no joy in having to engage with people in
you're just talking to the wrong person. You're talking to a decoy. You're talking to somebody who's got such partial information, but is also convinced,
but they're acting on that information. That's the problem, right?
That is the problem.
Like I very much a live and let live person. Fuck, you do you, I do me, right? But the problem is the people who are really motivated against this stuff they're the ones pushing for tool bans, right? So, and they're the ones being the supporters of that, So when there's pushes for it and they want to get, signatures on the petition or people at the rally, a lot of them are very mentally unstable people. They've been indoctrinated. They're by a charismatic leader. As you say, many of them have come from negative experiences in their life, there's something missing and they've found community, and then they've been weaponized to go out and act against us. I take no joy. In fact, I really dislike having to engage with those people in a adversarial manner. I don't enjoy that at all. And I stopped doing it for a long time. But then I've realized without any sort of opposition or feedback, they keep making ground. Like they keep being effective and making changes. And we see that. And we see that like as people push for tool bans, they're able to get a large amount of support from people who they don't really understand what they're doing. They're the useful idiot for a charismatic leader. That's the position that we're in. It sucks that we're in that. And it's a very struggling to find the right words for it. It's a very uncomfortable and shitty situation that we're in, because I don't enjoy having to be an adversary to people like that. But if we're not, and for sure, people are sick of us talking about this on the podcast. I get the feedback of it. People are sick of us talking about problems in the industry. But the problem is, mate, we are losing ground nonstop. And it's going to be really fucked up when the people who have been lying so much about what they do end up being successful. And they'll be gone. They've made their money. They'll have moved on. But the rest of us in this space are then stuck having to choose, in some cases. Many dog trainers are faced with the choice of, do I give up on this dog and tell owners like, no, I can't help you, right? Or do I risk myself becoming a criminal in order to help this dog? And that's a real choice that many people have to face, right? Like, take, for example, you're a person who, say you're in Queensland when the prong collar ban came in. I couldn't even guess at the numbers, but it's absolutely not zero, right? The number of people who within the last 2 months before that ban came in were at their absolute wit's end with their dog, whether it was a reactive dog or whether it's just too big for them and too strong, like whatever the reason is, there's people who had tried non-aversive training methods and not succeeded. And of course, there's an argument that is often made that, they didn't do it properly. It's like, yeah, okay, but they're just normal people with their dog, that they have a bandwidth of capability, right? And for sure, using really fancy and elaborate, long, force-free training plans can get a lot of shit done. Like, for sure, in a really long period of time with a highly skilled trainer, you can fucking achieve some incredible results that often people say are not achievable, right? But those results are often not achievable by the average person who has, got to the point where they then are referred to, end up with a balanced trainer, puts a prong on the dog who was sort of on death row perhaps, or certainly its quality of its life is massively increased by the use of the prong collar. The day those prong collars were banned, the owner of that dog now has to make a choice, right? Do I reduce the quality of the life of my dog, and in some cases, perhaps choose to terminate the life of my dog? Or do I take the risk of using this tool and potentially having a significant fine that I can't afford, as well as a potential animal cruelty charge? That's the sort of position that we're finding ourselves in. And so every time that I get into this position where someone is clearly a very mentally unwell person who is pushing me and others in the space, they are not just making comments online. They are the people who are writing to their local members. They are the people who are donating to the RSPCA and wanting these things to happen. Our choice then is, do we point that out? Do we argue with these people? Do we push back and leave ourselves with a little bit of the ick as to like, ugh, I don't like doing that? Or do we let those people keep fucking things up and creating those situations where people are put in a position where they have to choose between the welfare of their dog, and in some cases the life of their dog, or themselves becoming a criminal for doing something that is very clearly the right thing to do? And I think that is such a fucked up situation that so many of these people are creating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll be quite frank. They're the things that keep me up at night.
Yeah.
And if you sort of examine narrative and look deeply into that, this is what they're hoping for. They're hoping that people like you and me will just say, oh, it's too hard. I just want to give up. I don't want to fight anymore. I just want to lay down my gun and just fucking wander off into the beach, just give up. This is a long game plan. They're kind of thinking, like, let's work on the new generation. Let's work on the new generation. The other day when you and I were talking, we neglected to talk about it on the episode because we had another topic to talk about. But I said to you, this year has kind of been a little bit of a year that I've taken a bit of a step back with a few things, bought the new place, getting that set up. But also I just want a bit of a rest from it for a bit of time, just to have some respite, because in the entire term that I've been serving in the dog community, in the professional training community, and, breeding and all, or being involved overall, every 5 years you go through like a new induction of new babies coming into the industry. Like babies do, they cry, they scream, they're hunting for attention, they're looking for what works to get noticed. And that's what happens when people are coming in industry. Some people do it very well. Some people are just squeaky wheels. They're looking for oil. Some people will grow up the right way and they'll go on to become notable and experienced and professional trainers. They actually do the right thing by the community. They help people and they go on to make a good name for themselves. They're good people. They become useful. They service the industry well. They service the people of the industry very well and the community, I might add. What troubles me is there's more of an army of babies that come through that are just, they're the squeaky wheel from the entire time. That's their game. That's their hunt. That's their desire, is to stay in it as the squeaky wheel because they get seen more. They realize, well, I'm not really talented as a dog trainer. I've never done anything amazing, but people listen to me because now I've got this content that I can reach people and I can scream and I can make noise. And then I found that there's other people like me, like there's a lot more people like me who pay attention to me. And because I'm putting content out there and just bamboozling the world with enough mud, it's sticking and people are joining and jumping on this narrative with me. So the narrative builds and people come in again. Just when you think, oh God, finally those babies are starting to get a pacifier and shut the fuck up, 5 years will pass and there's a new flush of babies coming in.
There's a new fleet.
Yeah. And it's happened. So what am I, 35 years in now? So I've seen, 7 rotations that I've now seen of the industry and made it's hard and it's getting harder. And you talked about before where you said people might be getting sick of us talking about this, but I think they're getting sick of it from a world point anyway because it's happening in the world. Like you just don't get a break from it anymore. The governments are doing the same sort of thing. The irony is other podcasters in different fields and different industries, not even related to dog training, are talking about this. They're saying the same thing. Like we're getting fucked over on a broad spectrum. Like people are talking as professionals and they're using narratives that really aren't true. They're not right. They're being guided. They're being funneled into thinking these ways, which is very dangerous. And they're building these narratives to create, I don't know I think I do know what the ultimate agenda is. The ultimate agenda is to dob on everything to Big Brother, to get Big Brother to take over and just have somebody say, hey, you should come to us with everything. All the problems, we'll just stop this and we'll tell you what to do. And, you'll own nothing and you'll be happy. That's the agenda. But that makes you sound like a tinfoil hat wearing crazy. There was a good episode on Rogan about that.
We talked about it on the show, mate. We talked about it.
Yeah.
Or did we talk about it on the show? The guy that the whole wearing a tinfoil hat conspiracy theorist thing, his name was Paul Benowitz, and he was driven insane and ultimately killed himself by the CIA. It is so ironic that the tinfoil hat thing comes from a guy who was swearing that aliens were beaming messages into his home and he had to wear a tinfoil hat in order to protect his brain from the messages. The CIA were beaming messages into his home, into the computer that they installed in his house. And they did it to this poor motherfucker until he killed himself. So,
well, Dan Farrow and Joe Rogan just talk about, because he's come up with that new movie, Age of Disclosure. Yeah. So very good episode. I've almost finished it. I was driving back from Sydney today listening to it and I thought, wow, that's a really fucking cutting edge episode. And he talked about how the government would punish each other by saying, if you fuckers keep talking about this topic, you'll be wearing tinfoil hats and ridiculed within every department. Like you will be bullied and ridiculed for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
This is why people get sick of talking about it. But if we don't talk about it, maybe it just gets carried through. So who's going to carry the mantle? Who's going to carry the torch? I feel that these are important conversations. I feel that if we're not talking about it, if we're not creating some form of awareness and having these conversations, like it's fun to talk about other things and distract ourselves and say, let's talk about training dogs and learning about training dogs. But we are talking about training dogs. Exactly. We are talking about learning. We are talking about utilizing instruments of information like Dr. Melanie Uhde and the like, like people who can actually funnel you into genuine articles, who can actually, instead of creating a narrative, instead of creating some nefarious funnel, they can actually say, here is open book information, peer reviewed. Have at it. It's public knowledge. It's on a world stage and I will walk you through it. I'll hold your hand. I'll literally put my finger on the page and read it like a bedtime story to you so you can understand it the way that you need to understand. Not to sound disingenuous, like you're trying to make people sound like children, but sometimes we need some help understanding some things.
Yeah.
It's not our strong suit to know everything. As you learn about the brain, and people like Dr. Melanie teach you about the brain and plasticity and neurobiology and many others in the field, when you learn about things like that, the brain isn't equipped to store all this information. There's a forgetting curve. It's called the Ebbinghaus forgetting curve, in that if you don't study information that you've just learned, like if you haven't had some sort of time to look over your notes and re-examine what you were taught, then automatically you're at risk of losing 50% of that information already, because the brain goes, we're not doing this anymore. Okay, well, I will start data dumping because there's other stuff that needs to come in that I've only got so much storage space. So the other stuff has to either be archived, where we will have some vague recognition of it, or we'll just dump it all together where people go, yeah, I can't remember hearing that. Or they go, that's right, it kind of rings a bell. But if you do study it, if you do look over it again, your brain goes, yeah, that's right. We know this because we learned about it. We went to Pat Stewart's online course. We got some really incredible information. We wrote some notes down as well. And then yesterday where we were eating breakfast, we we're looking at those notes. A couple of days went by and then somebody was asking me a question and I pulled my notebook out and I had a look at it and I read some things that I wrote down. And therefore, you're not at risk of the Ebbinghaus forgetting curve, where it starts to reduce by, let's say, 75, 50, 25, 10, and then on until eventually your brain just dumps it all together and goes, no, not important. That's not, You're not at risk of that after that. Then your brain says to you, okay, we need this information. It's relevant and it's important and we're looking over it. But what you also need is like iterations of further knowledge on it as well. And you should be. You should be inquisitive, and curious after that. You know, a curious person, a curious brain, it can get you into trouble, or it can also give you a wild and fascinating education. That's what I'm suggesting that you and I are trying to do by talking to people about this, trying to say, there are people in your way of your education. There are people who have horrible agendas and they will deliberately lead you astray because you're effectively a form of a slave to them. You know, they're using you. They don't care about you. They make you feel that way, but they don't. You've gone in search of the wrong type of person. And it's very, very difficult to navigate through that process of who is the right type of person. I'm telling you, I've been around people before where I would have swore that these people would have walked in front of a bus for me. I would have sworn it. If you took me before like a jury and said hand on Bible and hand on heart, swear it. Swear it before God, kneel before God and swear it to him, I would have sworn it. I would have passed a lie detector test for it. I would have fucking solely believed that these people had my back, only to find out that I was in a nest of vipers and at crushing stuff. And this is the sadness of it, mate, even with people within the dog training communities that are saying, we're in it for the rescue, we're in it for the love, we're in it to save dogs because we can't stand the fact that somebody would get a kick out of hurting a dog or punishing a dog. Again, as you and I have explored and tried to build a narrative, like you're not looking at punishment. You haven't been taught about punishment. You've been taught about abuse. You've gone and studied under a terrible educator. You've studied under somebody who loses their temper, somebody who has a partial education and has refused to go any further. They haven't looked to build like a better ongoing narrative of science and education and information and cutting edge technology. They've just refused to. They just believe, I've got far enough. I'm being successful at this point. This has made me money. This has got me attention. This has got me likes on social media. This is as far as I go. That's a terrible thing too, because I've been in the company of those people too. I've also thought that person is an incredible person and I hadn't known any better. I didn't know until I knew, like until somebody pointed out to me, hey, you're sadly lacking in information. You thought you had cutting edge information, but that might have been cutting edge information 20 years ago. That might have been the stuff, but we've moved on since then, mate. But you haven't. You've refused to because you're holding a guardianship of somebody else's lazy information, or you got lazy yourself. You just got fat off all the scraps that somebody dropped from the floor above. You're just consuming garbage now. That's sad. But what we're pointing out is that there are conduits of information and access to wonderful people out there. Just open your mind. Don't be afraid to, like it is, it's scary. It's terrifying. Sometimes opening yourself up and questioning everything, but allow it to happen, allow it to flow through you and allow yourself to be present in it, to look at it and think to yourself, all right, I know this is scary. I know this is going to challenge me. I know that I've been wearing this like comfortable old pair of shoes. Like they feel so good walking around in these shoes. But what if I bought some new shoes? And then you start saying, oh, but they won't be as comfortable. What if they don't look as good as the old ones? Because the old ones look pretty cool. Everyone thinks they're cool. What if they're not as cool? What if they're not as comfortable? But what if they are? What if they're better? What if people go, oh, shit, holy shit, look at that. Look at those new pair of shoes. And that's what education is like as well. It's fucking exciting when you learn new stuff, but not only new stuff, but effective material as well. And you actually see how transformative it can be. Because, mate, for a long time, as I admitted, I'd been very closed off to things like using clickers, and I ridiculed them openly, actively. Not only did I try to, but I was also as successful at recruiting people to feel the same way that I felt. I made people who didn't know any better ridicule clickers. I actively campaigned and built hate groups around clickers because I didn't understand them. I didn't really understand the science behind them. I was just naive to the potential of using something, a clicker as a marker, only to realize years later that, oh, what a fucking fool. Why didn't I just say, I can see it works. Teach me, show me everything. Let me be immersive in this and learn it and decide whether or not I want to use it. But at least know it. At least have some feel for it, because I know people who have been involved in punishment before. I know people who have used remote trainers and prongs before, and then they've gone away and said, thank you. Like I've done a few tours with different people, but I prefer to not use it if I don't have to. I prefer not to. And I respect those people. They're not saying I won't use it. They're just saying I prefer not to. I've at least had an education in them. I'm willing to use it if I need to, but I really don't want to. It's not something I want to do. But I'm not standing in your way, brother. I can see that you have a very tactful way of doing it. You have a very caring and very genuine way of getting through to your student when you're using this. And I can see that they're benefiting from it. But I'm not as skilled as you are. And that's what I'm afraid of, that I just don't have the patience, the timing, or the technique or the aptitude to be able to use it the same way. That's what I'm afraid of. I just don't feel that I'm good enough to do it. So why don't we have a pact that if I find dogs that need it, I'm going to send them to you. You can be my quartermaster for that type of thing, or somebody that you elect in my area. We can do that. I'm not standing in their way. That would be a nice thing to have, more people doing that sort of thing, instead of saying this exposes me and also it brings out the fraud in me. That's why I don't want to talk about it. I want to shut it down as a conversation. Or, as you said before, it's aligning with that narrative of that person. But anyway, listen to me.
And I reckon at this
listen
point,
to me. Don't listen to me. Prestige worldwide.
But I reckon this far in an episode, we're preaching to the choir. It's only people who agree with us listening. But what I want to finish saying, it's something that I think about a lot, like almost every day when I'm looking at social media. If you see something and it upsets you, this is how I feel, right? And this is what I do. If you see something and it upsets you or it gives you big feelings kind of in one way or another, it's worth a couple minutes research to make sure it's true. Right?
Yeah.
Because there are fucking tons of people walking around big mad that ex-political person said something that they didn't fucking say.
Yep.
Right? And so there are plenty of people who are ruining their own day because they're fucking angry about something that didn't happen. And trust me, you got a lot to be angry about. There's a lot of actual shit you should be mad about. Just do a couple minutes research and make sure that the thing you're angry about is actually true. And I think that's the case when you I don't like the way you train dogs. I think it's abusive. Well, what do you know about the way I train dogs? Because I got a lot of content. And if you go through a bunch of it and you still don't like it, fucking power to you. But if you're just seen this one bit or someone told you something, just do a little bit more research before you let being wrong wreck your fucking day. I do that. Because shit comes up in my feed and I'll be like, what the fuck? And I'll get all mad about it. And then you go, oh, no, that's not true. Mate, that's one of the things, I've started using X quite a bit. Just in my personal life, it's where I get my news and shit from. I don't really post on there. But having the Grok integration in X is incredible. Because people will post stuff and you can, have you used it? Have you seen how?
No, I've listened to people talking about Grok.
If someone posts something, you can tag Grok in the comments and ask Grok if it's true. You don't even have to argue with people. You can have the AI go, nah, this photo's from fucking wherever, right? So it's gold. You just go, hey Grok, is this true? It will comment back and go, nah. There was one I saw recently. It was about a protest. They were claiming all these people were at the protest. And someone just commented on it, hey, Grok, is this true? And it's like, no, this photo's from 2017. And it's like, it just puts an end to it. It's fucking gold, right?
I saw this one that it made me furious at the start, but then I laughed at the audacity of it after I really saw it. It was an ad on Facebook. It looked like an ad where it had all these researchers talking about how the government are trying to push these new vaccines. It made it so nefarious, and it had music and it had people in labs and it had signs of technology and biology. And it was really using quite an advanced system of editing to put it all together. 3/4 of the way through it, the narrator said, oh, by the way, this is all bullshit. All I did was just put this together just to show you how stupid people can be.
How easy you are to get upset.
How easy you are to get upset, how you'll believe anything that's on the internet. If you put some nefarious type of music and you put some people with authority, pretty much like the Milgram experiment-esque type work, that people will just go, yeah, fuck the government, fuck this people, fuck all the people in the world that are doing this and pulling this hokey pokey out of their ass. It's just I was mad when I watched it. I was getting mad until I got to the end of it and I thought, what a fucking fool. I fell for it. I bear trapped my way all through that. So yeah, you're right. I agree with you, mate. I think that what would be best is doing what good leadership used to tell us when we were children is before you respond, count to 10 and breathe and think about it before you react. Like, don't just immediately react. Count to 10. Sometimes I've written responses to people and before I've pressed send, I've gone to bed and I've woken up in the morning and I've just gone out and deleted it. And I thought, it's not worth it. Now that I'm not fatigued, I even had a day at work where I've been angry about something or I'm tired or I'm frustrated or this is the 16th person that's pissed me off today and this person's going to get the layer cake of fucking shitstorm that I'm about to brew up and blow up in their face. You can just go, what's the point? Like the time that I spent typing that out, I could have gone out and gone for a hike or spent time training my dog or doing something fun and productive. And I think that's the icing on the cake for everybody is go out and do some cool stuff with your dogs. You know, like that's a fun thing to do. And there have been times where now that the weather's nice that I've gone out and played with Mando or just done something outside, gone and cut the lawn or something and listened to a great podcast, listen to people that are educational and upbeat and doing fun stuff. I think that's just far more meaningful than possibly finding out that you were arguing with a bot online or just somebody who was weaponized and sent to try and put you in a decay spiral. And there's just no point to it. There's no point to that level of ongoing unhappiness.
Exactly. All right. I'm finishing it there.
Yeah. We're done.
That's the end. Hey, that's it. Another episode. Canine Paradigm. We did it. As always, if you like what you hear, like, rate, share, subscribe, do that through whatever subscription service you download us from, then go to another one, do it there. No one checks. You're allowed to do it. You can evidently, you can comment anything you want anywhere.
I do. I just do it. I just comment. I just go in and make some rando comment. I'll go into a firearms group and just say, you should listen to the Canine Paradigm.
That's how you should diffuse all political arguments when you see them online. Hey, calm down. Go listen to Canine Paradigm. If you want to support us, you can do that Patreon, a few bucks a month, get your giant backlog of information, new stuff going forward, or you could pay more, get live streams, all kind of stuff, ask questions live.
We kind of flip through that, but the support side would be nice. Like the support is dipping. Yeah. The support's dropping.
Yeah, we do appreciate it. We do. For those of you that are in there already, really, really appreciate it very, very much.
There is no other financial support. Like we really don't have much in the way of sponsorships or anything like that. Like there is no... And it's not an income stream where you and I just laughing all the way to the bank, driving our Lamborghinis and our Bentleys down there and picking up a great big swaddle of cash or anything like that. We do have good microphones. We've got good microphones and we've got good editing gear. So our Patreons and some of our past sponsors were responsible directly for that, which, you know, there is unending love and appreciation for you for doing that. The thing is there's constant bills coming in. Like there's a non-stop flow of constant bills. And you guys are paying for our bills. So thank you very much. But yeah, there's no other income stream for the Canine Paradigm other than people being Patreon. So if you want to go to the coffee level and just buy us a coffee, that would be wonderful. People have said to us, you know, like you giving all this information away for free. What can I do for you? You can do that. That's how you can help.
And get a t-shirt. Get it in spring. Links in the show notes.
Yeah.
Get a giant wall tapestry. Love seeing that in people's training spaces. If you want to get in touch with us, best way to do that is jump into Facebook discussion groups. A lot of cool information happening in there. It's one of the last safe bastions of Facebook where people aren't being total fuckwits to each other. But if you want to get in touch with us directly, shoot us an email. We are info@thecanineparadigm.com. Love you all. Goodbye.
I thought you were going to sing us out then.